The Galactic Council's transmission echoed across the galaxy for 3 full cycles, each broadcast more arrogant than the last. Alien commentators discussed how the fragile Terrans would soon be placed under supervision, their fleets dismantled, their colonies restructured by more civilized hands. Billions watched and laughed, convinced that Earth's silence was fear. But humanity had always understood silence differently. On the Moon Defense Command, Admiral Reeve stood before a circular holotable showing the movement of the Vaughn fleet. Red markers bloomed across the holographic map, dozens of warships converging toward the Sol system, their engines bright as stars. Around the table, senior officers from every Terran colony waited in silence. "They've declared a peace enforcement mission," said General Hassan from Mars Orbital Command. "They claim it's to protect the region." His tone dripped with contempt. Reeve clasped his hands behind his back, his eyes locked on the map. Protect it from what? Civility. A small ripple of laughter passed through the room, but it was grim and tight. "Status of Project Courtesy?" he asked. Commander Aoki, a calm woman from the Pacific Alliance fleet, straightened. "Phase 1 complete, sir. Shadow satellites active, cloaked under gravitational signature drift. Phase 2, fleet deployment to dark zones, is underway. No alien sensors have detected us yet." "Good," Reeve said. He tapped a control, and the hologram expanded, revealing secret Terran shipyards hidden in asteroid belts and black space orbits. Dozens of massive ships shimmered into view, sleek, angular, painted in stealth alloys that absorbed light. No one outside the human network even knew they existed. "And our diplomatic front? Ambassadors are maintaining appearances," Aoki replied. No changes in tone. Still polite. Still patient. Reeve's lips curved faintly. "Excellent. Let them keep thinking we're harmless." Across the table, Admiral Cortez from Titan leaned forward, voice cold. "Sir, with respect, when do we stop pretending? The Vaughn are marching into our backyard. They'll test us, provoke us, humiliate us. We can't keep smiling forever." Reeve didn't look at him. He simply said, "We smile until they give us a reason not to." Outside the window, Earth hung like a glowing pearl, peaceful and beautiful. But beneath that calm surface, thousands of hidden systems were awakening. Old command bunkers, relics of the last Terran wars, flickered to life. Vast subterranean factories began manufacturing new hulls, new drones, and weapons designed to bend gravity and silence sound. Humanity had not been idle during its centuries of peace. It had been preparing for the moment when patience would no longer be enough. In orbit, the Terran defense fleet drifted quietly above the moon, lights dimmed, silent as ghosts. Every ship bore no insignia, just dark metal and deep blue glows pulsing beneath the surface. They didn't look like ships built for show. They looked like predators built for patience. "Admiral," Commander Aoki said softly, "the Council's envoy is requesting a formal meeting. They're sending a representative from the Vaughn Imperium to Earth's orbit within the next 36 hours. They say it's a negotiation." Reeve raised an eyebrow. "And their fleet?" "Entering Sol system as we speak. 124 warships, for dreadnoughts, 3 carriers. They're holding formation near Jupiter." The room went quiet. Every officer exchanged a glance. Reeve turned toward the stars, his reflection shimmering faintly in the glass. "So the vultures come smiling. Perfect." He pressed a key on the table, sending encrypted orders across human space. "All outer colonies stand by. Shadow fleets remain hidden until further notice. If the Vaughn want a negotiation," he said, "we'll give them one." The next day, the skies above Earth were bright with foreign metal. The Vaughn ships glittered like a storm of knives, surrounding the planet in perfect formation. Civilian networks broadcast the event in awe, alien ships hanging above the cradle of humanity, a show of dominance for the entire galaxy to see. News anchors called it a peaceful inspection. The truth was far colder. On the moon, Admiral Reeve stood in the Lunar Command Center, watching as the Vaughn envoy's shuttle descended through the atmosphere, escorted by Terran interceptors that looked fragile compared to the alien dreadnoughts. "Transmit the meeting room feed," he said. In the orbital station above Earth, the meeting chamber gleamed white and silver. The Vaughn ambassador entered with his guards, their tall armored bodies glistening with scaled plating. Waiting for them was a single human representative, Ambassador Keller. She stood calm, smiling politely. "Welcome to Earth," she said. "I trust your journey was pleasant." The Vaughn sneered. "We come under Council authority, human. You are in violation of galactic expansion laws. Your species will restrict its movement beyond Sol immediately." "Of course," Keller said sweetly. "But I must ask, has the Council sent this same restriction to the Kalath or the Dravik?" The Vaughn's eyes narrowed. "This is not a debate. You will comply, or the Imperium will act." Keller nodded slowly, folding her hands. "Understood. Shall I prepare tea?" The alien tilted his head, confused. "Tea. A Terran custom," she said, her voice like ice beneath the warmth. "We share it with guests before discussing serious matters. It's polite." The alien snorted but said nothing. Across the galaxy, the broadcast spread, humans being gracious under threat. Billions laughed. But on the moon, Admiral Reeve smiled faintly as he watched. "She bought us the time we needed," he murmured. The moment Keller poured the tea, a signal pulsed silently through the solar system. Deep beneath Earth's oceans, the sleeping giants awoke. The Atlas-class dreadnoughts, ancient titans designed during humanity's last war of extinction, rose from their vaults, water cascading off their hulls as they emerged into the night sky. Across Mars, defense satellites that had been disguised as mining arrays activated, aligning into precise grids. Around Jupiter, orbital storms flickered blue with artificial lightning as Terran carriers unfolded their stealth fields. Every weapon charged, but none fired. No one spoke. The Vaughn ships continued their inspection, oblivious to the invisible trap closing around them. Back in the meeting room, the alien ambassador placed his cup down with disdain. "You pretend civility, human, but you are surrounded. One command from me, and your planet burns." Keller smiled politely. "Then you should make that command quickly." The alien blinked, uncertain. "What did you say?" She leaned forward, her tone soft and calm. "Because you won't get a second chance." In that same instant, a silent burst of blue light rippled through the void. The Vaughn flagship systems went dead. Then another. And another. Within seconds, every Vaughn ship in orbit froze, engines offline, weapons locked, communications severed. Their crews shouted in panic as their controls refused to respond. From the dark side of the moon, a single transmission went out. No threats. No demands. Just 3 simple words. Project Courtesy, complete. In the chamber, the alien ambassador's communicator blinked uselessly. He looked at Keller in horror. "What have you done?" She stood, straightening her jacket, her eyes calm. "We've been polite long enough." On the moon, Admiral Reeve watched as the Vaughn fleet drifted helplessly in silence. No explosions, no chaos, just quiet control. "Send them home," he said. "No damage, no death. Let them explain what happened to the Council." His officers hesitated. "Sir, you're just letting them go." "Yes," Reeve said, his voice steady. "Politeness requires restraint. But make sure their logs are corrupted. They'll remember, but they won't prove anything." The Vaughn ships slowly turned, their engines reigniting under human control, and one by one, they retreated. Across the galaxy, the broadcast ended abruptly. No one knew what had happened. No one dared ask. But for the first time in centuries, the stars seemed quieter. In that silence, Admiral Reeve finally exhaled. "They called us weak," he whispered, watching the blue glow of Earth below. "Now they'll learn that courtesy isn't surrender. It's patience sharpened into power." And in the black between worlds, Earth's fleets waited, unseen, unmoving, perfectly polite, and absolutely ready. The Vaughn Imperium had never known fear. For 10,000 years, Their fleets had ruled through dominance, their generals teaching that strength came from sound and spectacle. The roar of plasma fire, the thunder of ships breaking through atmospheres. But when they entered Earth's orbit, they encountered something far more terrifying: silence. The humans didn't scramble ships to defend, didn't broadcast distress calls, didn't even acknowledge the invasion. It was as if the entire planet simply watched. The Vaughn commander, High General Dravik Tor, stood on the bridge of his flagship Vengeance of Iron, surrounded by the hum of alien machinery. Through the wide viewing pane, Earth floated below, a calm sphere of blue and white, fragile looking under the golden glow of the sun. They hide behind politeness. Dravik sneered, his scaled mouth curling into a grin. Let us show them what civilization looks like. His officers laughed in approval, claws tapping against consoles. Activate orbital weapons. Target their cities. I want the humans to understand what real power is. But before the command could be executed, the ship's targeting systems flickered, the screens turning black for less than a second, then stabilizing. Interference. Dravik growled. Minor glitch, General, said his chief technician. Probably human transmissions. Harmless. Then continue. Yet, deep below them, humanity was already moving. From hidden bases beneath the Pacific Ocean, 10 massive dreadnoughts silently emerged, their hulls slick with water, their engines whisper quiet. Each ship was a ghost from Earth's forgotten wars, sleek, dark, and shaped for speed rather than spectacle. The lead vessel, TSV Resolute, moved like a predator through the void, its cloak bending light itself. Maintain stealth, ordered Captain Myra Solon, her voice calm. No one fires unless the Admiral gives the signal. Yes, replied her crew in unison. The dreadnoughts drifted through the dark, their positions precise, their presence undetectable. Humanity had mastered silence, and silence had become their weapon. Above Earth, the Vaughn fleet grew restless. The general waited for surrender transmissions, but none came. Strange, his comm officer said. Planetary comms are silent. No distress, no resistance. They are cowards, Dravik spat. They know they can't win. He didn't notice that his ships had begun to drift slightly out of formation. Navigation controls subtly adjusting themselves, engines receiving faint, invisible signals. In the command room on the moon, Admiral Reeve watched the holographic projection of the entire Vaughn fleet as blue icons appeared around it, closing in. How long until full lock? He asked. Commander Aoki replied, 17 seconds, sir. Once the grid sinks, every ship in orbit will be under our control. Perfect, Reeve said. No destruction. Just demonstration. On board Vengeance of Iron, the alarms began to flash red. Sir, propulsion malfunction, shouted the helmsman. I can't stabilize orbit. It's like the system's ignoring commands. Reboot the drives. Dravik barked, but the drives didn't respond. Instead, the ship's engines dimmed, the hum dying like a creature gasping for breath. One by one, the rest of the Vaughn fleet followed, their systems freezing mid-command. Across the bridge, alien officers panicked, their claws slamming consoles that no longer obeyed. What's happening? Dravik roared. Is this sabotage? The answer came seconds later. A calm human voice filled every Vaughn comm channel. This is Earth Command. You have entered restricted space. You are advised to stand down. The voice was firm but polite, the tone almost courteous. Dravik's eyes widened. Who dares? The voice continued, cutting him off. We were being polite. You should have taken the hint. Then, every console on every Vaughn ship went dark. Their lights extinguished, their weapons powered down, and gravity fields collapsed. Massive warships drifted helplessly, turning slowly like debris. In the darkness, the only light came from Earth's reflection, soft and blue. On board Vengeance of Iron, chaos broke out. All systems offline. We've lost power. Communications dead. We can't even open the hangar bay doors. Shut up. Dravik bellowed, his claws digging into the command chair. Restore control now. "It's not us, General," the technician cried, panic in his voice. "Something external is rewriting our systems. It's polite, sir." Dravik froze. "What?" "The override code, it's transmitting requests, not commands. It's asking permission before shutting us down." Dravik's blood ran cold. "You're saying they're dismantling our fleet politely?" No one answered. Then the human voice returned. "General Dravik Tor of the Vaughn Imperium," it said smoothly, "your fleet is now under Earth supervision. You will be escorted safely out of Sol space. No harm will come to you, provided you maintain courtesy." "You can't," Dravik began, but before he could finish, the communications feed cut off. Outside, the human dreadnoughts decloaked for the first time. Massive, black vessels shaped like blades of light appeared in perfect formation around the Vaughn fleet. No engines flared, no weapons glowed. They didn't need to threaten. They simply existed, silent and unmovable. The largest human ship, TSV Resolute, drifted close to Dravik's flagship, so close that its hull filled the alien viewport. The ship's designation glowed faintly in white letters. "Respect is earned." "My gods," whispered one of Dravik's officers. "They were never weak, they were waiting," said another, his voice trembling. Dravik's pride shattered like glass. For centuries, his people had mocked humanity's calm diplomacy. Now he understood. It hadn't been fear. It had been control. "Transmit a message to Earth Command," Dravik ordered quietly. "Tell them, we surrender." The comm officer shook his head helplessly. "Sir, they've already transmitted it for us." Dravik's throat tightened. His flagship turned, its engines reactivating, but not under his command. The ship's trajectory changed gently, pulling the entire Vaughn formation toward the edge of the system. The humans were guiding them out, slow and deliberate, like patient teachers escorting misbehaving students home. The galaxy watched in disbelief as the Vaughn fleet retreated from Earth's orbit, powerless and silent. The broadcast lasted only 2 minutes before cutting to black, but in those 2 minutes, everything changed. On every world, people whispered the same words. They didn't fight, they didn't fire, and still, they won. On the moon, Admiral Reeve stood before his officers, expression unreadable. "Status," he asked. "All enemy ships exiting Sol under control," Commander Aoki confirmed. "No casualties. No damage to Earth or civilian installations." Reeve nodded slowly. "Good. Courtesy remains intact." Then he turned toward the viewport, the blue planet glowing below. "Send a message to the Council," he said. "Keep it simple." "What message, sir?" "Just 3 words." He paused, his eyes hard. "We were polite." The message spread across the galaxy like wildfire. Some called it arrogance. Others called it genius. But every leader who read it felt the same chill in their hearts. Humanity hadn't declared war. They hadn't even raised their voice. They had smiled, and the galaxy had knelt. From that day onward, the stars learned a new rule: never mistake silence for fear, and never mistake politeness for mercy. The galaxy didn't sleep that night. From the glittering core worlds to the mining colonies at the edge of charted space, every news broadcast replayed the same shocking footage. Hundreds of Vaughn warships drifting powerless through the black, surrounded by Earth's silent dreadnoughts like prey encircled by predators. The humans hadn't fired. They hadn't shouted. They hadn't even demanded apology. They simply disabled the most feared fleet in the galaxy and then, politely, escorted it home. The Galactic Council met in emergency session, but even the Council's arrogance could not hide the fear in their eyes. The Speaker of the Council pounded his staff against the shining floor, his voice cracking through the chamber. "This cannot stand. Humanity used forbidden technology. They violated the Treaty of Peaceful Expansion." The Vaughn general, pale and shaken, rose from his seat, his eyes sunken with humiliation. "You don't understand," he rasped. "They didn't use weapons. They used something else. Every command system, every reactor, every defense unit. They just stopped. It wasn't an attack. It was obedience." The chamber filled with horrified murmurs. Obedience, the speaker hissed. Machines cannot disobey physics. Then explain how an entire fleet became still. Dravik shouted, slamming his clawed hand against the table. Explain how a species we mocked for peace turned our warships into statues. The chamber fell silent. No one spoke. No one could. Finally, the Kalath delegate, his insectoid eyes trembling, said, perhaps they weren't peaceful because they were weak. Perhaps they were peaceful because they didn't need war. The speaker slammed his staff again, but his voice trembled. You're suggesting we fear them. I'm suggesting, the Kalath whispered, that we remember what happened to the old empires. The ones that vanished before us. The ones that warned us, never disturb Earth. That single sentence silenced the room. The words hung heavy, echoing through every corridor of the council hall. No one dared say it aloud, but every delegate felt it in their bones. The old legends weren't myths anymore. They had just seen them come alive. Back in the Sol system, humanity remained perfectly silent. No speeches, no threats, no celebrations. Just quiet. The Vaughn fleet drifted beyond Jupiter's orbit, still under human control, until Earth Command released them. Each ship powered down, its memory core scrubbed clean. They limped home in disgrace. When they arrived back on Vaughn Prime, their people didn't cheer them as heroes. They hid their faces in shame. And on the Moon Defense Command, Admiral Reeve stood before the tactical screen, the Vaughn ships disappearing from human sensors one by one. Phase 2 completed, Commander Aoki said. No retaliation detected. Council fleets are holding position, uncertain. Reeve nodded slowly. Good. Keep them uncertain. Sir, Aoki asked quietly, what happens if they come again? Reeve didn't answer at first. He walked to the viewport, staring at Earth glowing peacefully beneath him. Then we remind them, he said softly, that kindness has limits. Across human space, the message we were polite continued to circulate, though no one claimed responsibility for sending it. It appeared on alien newsfeeds, in military databases, even inside council archives. No one could trace its origin. It was as if the phrase itself had become a force of nature. But the council couldn't ignore what had happened. Within a week, they deployed observation fleets to watch Earth's borders. They dared not invade again, but they needed answers. For the first time in centuries, the mighty council felt fragile. On a distant monitoring station orbiting the star Vega, alien technicians stared in confusion at their sensors. Sir, one called out, I'm detecting strange distortions in deep space. Pirates? The commander asked. No, sir. Gravitational folds. Massive ones. Like something's moving through hyperspace, but without signatures. The commander frowned. Show me. The screen flickered, showing faint blue distortions, like invisible waves cutting across the void. And then, just for a moment, a shadow appeared. The silhouette of a ship so large it blocked out the stars. Before the technician could react, the sensors went black. We lost it, he stammered. We lost everything. The commander's scales turned pale. They are watching us, he whispered. Meanwhile, in a quiet office beneath London, the Terran High Council met with Admiral Reeve via holo. You've made enemies, said Chancellor Imoni, her tone calm but grave. The Council is frightened. They're uniting against us. Good, Reeve said simply. Fear is a form of respect. Respect can turn into war, another warned. If they attack again, then they'll learn again, Reeve interrupted. They'll learn that politeness wasn't surrender. It was mercy. His eyes flicked upward as another report flashed across his screen. Our shadow fleets report increased surveillance near Alpha Centauri. The Council is trying to spy on us. And we'll let them look, Reeve said with a faint smirk. They'll see what we want them to see. Above Earth, a massive Terran orbital array began transmitting a false data stream, a projection of outdated fleets and obsolete weapons, perfectly crafted to deceive alien intelligence. Every time the Council probed, they found weakness. Every time they looked away, new human fleets moved unseen. Earth had become a fortress hidden behind diplomacy. 2 months passed before the Council dared send another message. This time, it wasn't mockery. It was a question. Earth Command, we seek understanding. What is Project Courtesy? The reply came instantly, broadcast in every major language of the galaxy. Project Courtesy is the preservation of peace through patience. And then, another line appeared, one that made every leader on every planet feel their hearts stop. Patience, however, expires. On the moon, Reeve stood with his hands clasped behind his back as that message went live. He didn't need to explain it. The galaxy would understand. Humanity had given them centuries of calm, decades of mercy, and 1 moment of warning. The next time, there would be no warnings. On the other side of the galaxy, in a dark chamber filled with whispering diplomats, the Vaughn general stared at the transmission until it ended. Then he turned to his aides and said quietly, "We should have never mistaken their peace for fear." Back on Earth, night fell over the oceans, and the stars reflected gently on the water. Hidden deep beneath those waves, vast machines hummed in silence, waiting for the day their restraint would no longer be enough. Humanity had shown the galaxy what polite truly meant. Now, every empire lived with the same question burning in their minds. If this was how humans acted when they were polite, what would happen when they stopped? Across the galaxy, fear had replaced arrogance. Every alien broadcast that once mocked humanity now spoke in cautious tones, their leaders using polite phrases when referring to Earth as though words alone could keep the sleeping lion calm. But fear never stops curiosity. In the shadows of the Council, whispers grew, voices of those who refused to believe that a small blue planet could humble empires. "It's an illusion," one senator hissed during a closed meeting. "A trick of technology. A weaponized virus," another argued. "They hacked our systems. We must strike before they grow stronger." The speaker listened, tail twitching with tension. "We will not strike blindly, but we will know their truth." And so, without official sanction, a covert task force was formed. The eyes of the Council, made up of the best spies, scientists, and soldiers from across 50 worlds. Their mission, infiltrate the Sol system, find Earth's secret, and prove humanity was not divine, only deceptive. For 3 months they planned, gathering intelligence, building cloaked ships designed to mimic meteor signatures. When the day came, 5 stealth vessels jumped into Sol space under deep cover. They thought they were unseen. They were wrong. On the dark side of the moon, deep within a subterranean command bunker, a soft alarm pulsed once. Commander Aoki looked up from her console. "Admiral, unidentified mass signatures near Mars orbit. Non-standard trajectories." Admiral Reeve didn't even lift his eyes from the data feed. "Council probes," he said calmly. "Let them come." "Should we intercept?" "No," Reeve said. "Let them believe their stealth works. Observation only." The intruders crept closer, sensors whispering through the void, scanning frequencies, mapping gravity wells. They approached the asteroid belt, marking out supposed hidden bases, but the more they searched, the more the readings made no sense. The asteroid's positions shifted slightly every few seconds, as though the belt itself were alive. "Navigation error?" asked one of the spies. "No," said their commander. "Something's interfering. Adjust course." But as soon as they did, their ships slowed. Power readings dropped by half. Then, without warning, every console in every ship flickered. A message appeared, written in their own languages. "You are not authorized to be here." Panic rippled through the fleet. Where did that come from? No source detected. Shut down comms. But it was too late. The ship's engines died, lights dimmed, and the stars vanished from the viewport. They were drifting, caught in something vast and invisible. The commander shouted, "Broadcast emergency signal." The comms officer hesitated. "Sir, it won't send. It's asking for permission." The commander's throat went dry. Permission from who? From Earth. And then, the darkness outside their ships began to move. It wasn't a fleet. It was something larger. A network. Massive, glowing lines spread through the void like veins of light, stretching from planet to planet. They pulsed once, slow and deliberate, forming an enormous grid across the entire system. The intruders had triggered humanity's defense web, the Halo Array. "What is that?" whispered one of the soldiers. "A weapon." "No," said another, trembling. "It's a boundary." Before they could analyze further, a voice filled the air, calm and clear. "You have crossed into restricted space. State your intent." "This is the Council Task Force," the commander said quickly. "We come in peace." Lying is impolite," the voice interrupted gently. "You were told to stay away." "We only seek understanding." "Understanding," the voice repeated, "comes through respect." The grid's light brightened, wrapping around their ships like a soft blue mist. "You will now understand restraint." The crew screamed as gravity folded around them. Time itself twisted, sensors spinning, data collapsing into static. And then, just as suddenly, everything stopped. When they opened their eyes, they were no longer in soul space. Their ships drifted near the edge of the galaxy, hundreds of light years from home. No damage, no injuries, only silence. But their logs, erased. No trace of their journey remained, except one line in their system memory. Project Courtesy, Phase 3, demonstration complete. The Council denied everything. They claimed the fleet malfunctioned. But the survivors whispered the truth, that they had seen the grid, that they had felt it measure their thoughts, that Earth had moved them across the stars without even trying. "They didn't fight us," one spy said during interrogation. "They just moved us, like we were chess pieces." "And what did they say?" asked the investigator. The spy looked up, pale and shaking. "They said we were being impolite." Meanwhile, on the moon, Admiral Reeve reviewed the operation report. "No loss of life," Commander Aoki confirmed. "They've been returned to Council territory with memory tampering successful." Reeve nodded. "Good. Keep the grid running on passive mode. We'll maintain observation. If they send another fleet, make it faster." "Faster, sir." "Yes," Reeve said. "No warning next time." Across human space, whispers of the Halo Array spread through military circles and science academies. Some called it a myth, others a god's machine. But in truth, it was neither. It was humanity's reminder that peace required control. On Halion Prime, the speaker slammed his claws against the table, enraged. "They humiliate us again. This is tyranny." The Vaughn general stared at him with hollow eyes. "You still don't understand," he said softly. "It's not tyranny. It's education." "Then what do we do?" the speaker hissed. "We wait," said the Kalath ambassador. "And we pray they never stop being polite." Back on Earth, night covered the planet like a blanket. Admiral Reeve stood in his quarters, looking down at the glowing cities below. "They'll come again," he murmured. "They always do." Commander Aoki joined him, her expression unreadable. "And if they do?" Reeve smiled faintly. "Then we teach them another lesson in manners." In the dark beyond the solar system, the Halo Array pulsed once more, a single, gentle flash that traveled through space like a heartbeat. It was a message to the galaxy, though no one dared translate it. Politeness is patience. Patience is power. And power remembers. Weeks turned into months, and the galaxy pretended everything was normal. But beneath that fragile calm, fear rotted every empire from within. No one dared approach Earth, not after the Halo Array incident. Trade convoys rerouted around Sol, and entire star systems whispered that the humans had become something beyond mortal comprehension. The Galactic Council held endless meetings, filled with nervous words and empty confidence. But deep down, every leader knew the truth. They had awoken something ancient, something that had waited too long to be provoked. On the world of Varel, capital of the Council, the speaker stood before a vast holoscreen showing the human network expanding faster than any had predicted. Terran colonies appeared along trade routes once guarded by alien fleets, and each colony transmitted a simple, Calm message to every neighbor. Peace through understanding. Respect through silence. But that silence terrified them more than war ever could. They are surrounding us, hissed a council general. They say it's peace, but it's strategy. They're cutting off our influence sector by sector. Then strike first, shouted another delegate. Destroy their new colonies before they become strongholds. The speaker's eyes flicked nervously across the chamber. You want to provoke them again? The room fell quiet. Every delegate remembered the last time. Every one of them remembered how their fleets had been rendered powerless without a single shot fired. Finally, the Vaughn general spoke, voice low and trembling. You cannot fight what doesn't need to fight back. His words echoed in the hollow silence. Meanwhile, far from the council's gold halls, in the cold shadows between stars, humanity was already watching. From the Terran Shadow Network, an intelligence arm that operated in silence, reports flooded into Admiral Reeves' command desk. He stood aboard the TSV Resolute, now orbiting Titan, reviewing the data. They are building weapons again, said Commander Aoki quietly. Mass drivers, plasma batteries, new fleets in secret. The Council says it's for peacekeeping. Reeves' expression didn't change. Peacekeeping, he repeated softly. A polite word for fear. Do we intervene? Not yet. Let them build. Aoki frowned. Sir, with respect, the last time we let them build, we had to shut down 100 warships. Yes, Reeves said, and that's why they'll never stop. They don't learn from defeat. They learn from embarrassment. He turned toward the window where Saturn's golden rings shimmered faintly. And embarrassment is a slow burn. Across human space, silent construction continued. New fleets emerging from hidden forges, each one faster, quieter, and smarter than the last. The halo array expanded beyond Sol, stretching invisible filaments through wormhole nodes, linking colonies across light years. The network's AI, codenamed Prudence, oversaw every movement, ensuring that humanity's strength remained unseen until it was necessary. But necessary was coming. On a remote council world near the Perseus Arm, human colonists discovered alien soldiers disguised as miners. When exposed, the soldiers detonated themselves rather than surrender. The incident was small, but the message was clear. The council wanted a reaction. And they got one. 2 weeks later, every military satellite in council space went offline for exactly 60 seconds. Not destroyed, just silenced. When they came back online, every single one displayed a message in glowing blue letters. Your actions have been noted. Please refrain from further rudeness. No one claimed responsibility. No human voice followed. But everyone knew who sent it. The galaxy froze. Empires that once ruled with cruelty now found themselves apologizing for border patrols and delaying military exercises near human colonies. Even pirates vanished. Rumor said they had been offered a chance to retire quietly by unseen visitors in dark ships. In truth, they were never seen again. The galaxy was changing. And still, humanity remained calm, courteous, diplomatic, terrifyingly polite. On Titan, Admiral Reeve received a transmission marked Council Emergency Request. He opened it on the main holo. The speaker appeared, his scaled face drawn with exhaustion. Admiral Reeve, he began carefully, the Council seeks understanding. We fear an arms race could destroy us all. You mean your arms race, Reeve said dryly. Earth hasn't fired a weapon in years. We wish for peace. Then stop testing it. The speaker swallowed hard. Admiral, the galaxy cannot live in fear of a single world. Then stop fearing it, Reeve said simply. Earn our respect. Don't demand it. You're asking for trust, the speaker whispered. No, Reeve said, leaning closer to the screen, his eyes cold and calm. I'm asking for manners. The transmission ended. Silence filled the bridge. Commander Aoki turned toward him. Do you think they'll listen? No, he said, but they'll remember. That night, under the silver glow of Titan's sky, the Admiral stood on the observation deck, staring into the dark. The stars shimmered like distant fires, and beyond them, He could almost feel the galaxy holding its breath. They think politeness is weakness, he murmured. They think patience means hesitation. But they'll learn. He looked toward Earth. Far away but glowing brighter than ever. They'll learn that civility doesn't mean mercy. Somewhere deep in space, near the galactic rim, a massive shadow stirred. An entire human fleet, invisible and silent, moving through the void like a current under still water. They were the Terran Vanguard, Earth's final deterrent, built for one purpose only, to end all arrogance if diplomacy failed. No one in the galaxy knew they existed. No one ever would, unless humanity chose to show them. In the dark between stars, the fleet's command AI whispered softly across encrypted channels, all systems optimal, awaiting further impoliteness. And so the galaxy held its breath, not realizing that the longer Earth stayed silent, the closer they drifted toward judgment. Because patience, like peace, was a weapon, and the humans had perfected it. The galaxy had grown eerily quiet, a silence that carried weight heavier than war. Every empire, every fleet, every arrogant commander who once mocked Earth now held their tongues. They had seen too much. They had witnessed fleets disabled with a whisper, armies scattered without a single human shot fired. But silence, they learned, does not mean safety. It means something is watching. Rumors spread through the council worlds like wildfire. Some claimed that humanity had built machines that could think faster than gods. Others whispered of weapons that could erase a planet without light or sound. Yet the most frightening rumor of all was the simplest one. That humans didn't need weapons, they only needed intent. The Galactic Council, fractured by fear, called one last emergency meeting in the shining chamber of Virel Prime. For the first time in millennia, every species attended, their faces pale, their voices shaking. The speaker slammed his staff against the marble floor. "This cannot continue," he shouted. "We cannot live under their shadow. We must confront them." But his words carried no power. No one wanted to speak first. Finally, the old Vaughn General Dravik stood. His scales had dulled, his once fearsome posture bent with age and regret. "You want to confront them," he rasped. "You want to speak to the humans." The chamber turned to him in silence. "Then pray they choose to answer." He raised a trembling hand and projected an image above the council floor. It showed something vast, beyond comprehension. 2 days ago, Dravik said, our deep space telescopes near the Orion Fringe detected this. The image sharpened. It was a fleet, black ships so immense they dwarfed moons, moving in perfect synchronization. Their formation stretched across hundreds of kilometers, their engines emitting no light, no heat, no signature. The room fell into horrified silence. "They are moving through our sectors," Dravik said. "No signals, no broadcasts, just silent transit." The speaker's voice trembled. "And what is their destination?" Dravik stared at the projection. "They are heading toward us." Panic erupted in the chamber. Delegates screamed over one another. Some demanded surrender, others shouted for evacuation. "Perhaps it's a drill. Maybe they're coming to negotiate." "Negotiate?" Dravik roared. "Did you not hear what they said the last time? Patience expires." The speaker's claws shook as he activated the central transmission beacon. "Open a line," he ordered. "To whom?" asked the technician. "To Earth." Static filled the air. The beacon pulsed once, twice, then connected. A figure appeared in the hologram, wearing a dark Terran uniform with no insignia. His face was calm, unreadable. Behind him, a vast window revealed Earth's surface glowing softly against the void. The speaker forced a shaky smile. "Representative of Earth, we wish to open peaceful dialogue." "Of course," the man said evenly. "Polite conversation is always welcome." The council members sighed in visible relief, but the man's tone didn't change. "However," he continued, "our patience has reached its limit." The speaker froze. What do you mean?" "Your spies, your fleets, your lies of peace. You test the boundaries we so carefully built." The man stepped closer to the holographic feed, his eyes hard as steel. You mistake mercy for tolerance. But mercy has conditions. We seek understanding, the speaker stammered. You seek control, the human interrupted. But the age of your control is over. The chamber lights dimmed. The hologram flickered, and suddenly, every screen across the Council's capital lit up with a new image. The Terran Vanguard fleet in orbit over their planet. Millions looked up in horror as shadows filled the skies. The human continued speaking, his voice echoing through every communication line in the system. For centuries, we allowed you to mock us, to restrict us, to pretend you ruled the stars. We stayed polite. We stayed patient. But patience, he said coldly, is not endless. The Council delegates watched helplessly as Terran ships unfolded wings of light. Energy fields so massive they blotted out entire constellations. We could destroy you, the man said softly, but that would be impolite. Instead, we'll teach you a final lesson. He raised his hand, and instantly, every weapon, every defensive system, every power source in the entire Council's sector shut down. Planets went dark. Fleets fell silent. The entire network of empires vanished into helpless stillness. We call this silence, he said, a moment of reflection. His image flickered. Use it well. The transmission ended. The chamber plunged into chaos. Delegates screamed, scrambling for comms that no longer worked. The speaker fell to his knees, trembling. What have we done? He whispered. Outside, the skies of Virel Prime were filled with silent human ships, unmoving, watching like gods judging their creation. No one attacked. No one spoke. They simply lingered. Hours passed. Then, slowly, one by one, lights began returning to the planets. Power restored. Systems rebooted. But the message was clear. Humanity could end them, but chose not to. It was not a victory through war. It was domination through restraint. On board the flagship TSV Resolute, Admiral Reeve watched from orbit. Power restored, sir, Aoki reported. No casualties. No counterattacks. Good, Reeve said, eyes fixed on the glowing planet below. Then they've learned. Do you think they'll stay quiet this time? Aoki asked. Reeve turned toward her, expression unreadable. Silence isn't peace, he said. It's the sound of fear remembering its manners. Below, the Council capital glowed once more, but no one celebrated. Streets were filled with whispers and prayers. Every species now knew the truth. The humans had never been weak. They had simply chosen patience. And that choice had ended the age of arrogance. From that day on, across every star, a single unwritten law spread through the cosmos. Never test Earth's courtesy twice. The galaxy was quiet again, but this time, it was not the calm before war, it was the silence of submission. For months after the Terran Vanguard appeared above Virel Prime, no ship entered human space without invitation, no fleet assembled without sending notice to Earth first. The Galactic Council, once arrogant and loud, had become humble and quiet. Even the great empires that had dominated for thousands of years now bowed to unseen authority. Every leader remembered the darkness, those eternal minutes when the stars themselves seemed to hold their breath as humanity cut the power of an entire sector with a whisper. It was not just defeat. It was awakening. On Earth, life looked unchanged. Cities thrived, oceans glimmered, children played beneath skies that no longer held fear. But beneath that peace, the Terran High Command never slept. Admiral Reeve stood before the grand observation window of Lunar Command, watching the fleets move in perfect silence, each ship gliding like a shadow through the void. Commander Aoki entered quietly, handing him a datapad. Reports from the frontier, she said. The Kalath Confederation has requested protection treaties. The Dravik Empire disbanded their military yesterday. The Vaughn, they're dismantling their dreadnoughts. Good, Reeve said softly. Let them. Aoki hesitated. Sir, do you ever think we went too far? Reeve didn't answer at first. He looked down at Earth, the cradle of mankind, glowing against the infinite black. No, he said finally. We showed them what restraint truly means. They called us weak because we preferred peace. Now they'll understand peace was the strongest thing they ever faced. Across the galaxy, humanity's influence spread like gravity itself. Silent, inescapable, natural. Human diplomats visited worlds that once cursed their name, and no one dared raise their voice. Terran technology rebuilt cities shattered by ancient wars. Human medics treated alien wounds without charge. To the galaxy, Earth became a paradox. Both savior and judge, both merciful and terrifying. On Virel Prime, the speaker stood before the council, now reduced to half its size. His voice was soft, stripped of arrogance. "We must coexist with them," he said. "We have no choice." One delegate whispered, "They control everything, the fleets, the trade, even our communication networks." "They don't control," the Vaughn general said quietly. "They guide. And guiding is far worse, because it means they don't need chains." The speaker bowed his head. "Then we must stay in their favor. For if this is their mercy, we can never afford to see their wrath." The chamber fell into uneasy silence. Outside, in orbit above the planet, a Terran observation ship hovered quietly, its hull reflecting the twin suns. It didn't broadcast. It didn't interfere. It simply watched, politely. Back on the moon, Reeve met with the Terran Council for the last time. Around the table sat the architects of humanity's rise, scientists, diplomats, generals, and historians. The Chancellor began, "Admiral, your mission is complete. The galaxy understands our strength. The vanguard will stand down." Reeve looked up sharply. "Stand down?" "Yes," the Chancellor said. "We've achieved control without war. It's time to let them govern themselves." Reeve studied her carefully. "And when they forget?" She hesitated. "They won't." He smiled faintly. "They always do." Later that night, alone in the dim light of his quarters, Reeve opened an encrypted file, Project Courtesy, Final Directive. Inside was a single message written decades before his time, by an unknown author. "Humanity will not rule by fear. We will rule by example. But if they ever forget, remind them what politeness costs." Reeve closed the file and stared out into the void, his reflection blending with the stars. Somewhere far beyond the Milky Way's edge, something vast stirred. Unmapped regions flickered with strange signals. Unknown fleets, distant civilizations unaware of what had happened in the galactic core. Humanity's long-range probes picked up the faint energy signatures of massive constructs, similar to old council technology but ancient, older than any record. Reeve's eyes narrowed. "So," he murmured, "the universe still has lessons to learn." Commander Aoki entered again, sensing his mood. "Sir, new contact on deep space radar. Origin, unknown." Reeve turned to her, calm as ever. "Prepare the vanguard. Activate the halo array across the outer rim. Let's greet them the Terran way." "With weapons?" she asked softly. He smiled. "With courtesy." The command spread instantly. Across the farthest human colonies, dormant systems awoke, silent power grids pulsing once more. The stars themselves seemed to shimmer as invisible signals linked across the void, forming that same haunting network of light. The halo reborn, vast enough now to cover an entire quadrant. Every human officer knew the meaning. Earth was preparing for another lesson. Somewhere in the darkness, an alien fleet, ancient and proud, picked up the faint transmission of a human voice translated into every known dialect of the galaxy. It was simple, calm, and unmistakably polite. "To those who come seeking conquest, welcome. We hope you brought your manners." The transmission ended, and then the stars fell silent again. Across every world that had once mocked Earth, millions looked up, terrified and awed. They knew what that silence meant. The humans weren't gone. They were watching, waiting, patient, and ready. For now, the galaxy would remain peaceful. Not because of treaties. Not because of fear. But because the universe had learned one unshakable truth, that the most dangerous force in existence was not rage, not power, not dominance. It was a calm voice that smiled while saying, "We were being polite."